saw the start of a new ground offensive launched by Israel.
Tradition!
Holy look, obviously there are many strong opinions on this issue, but just merely mentioning Israel or questioning in any way the effectiveness or humanity of Israel's policies is not the same thing as being pro-Hamas.
So you're against murdered children?
Free Gaza! Free Palestine!
The Zionist pig!
You know what? Why don't we just talk about something lighter, like Ukraine?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Welcome back to Totally Based. I'm Joey Gaskin, and today we got to talk about Ben Shapiro and his latest victims, Andrew Tate and Tucker Carlson. But before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on new content from me. Now let's get to it. All right, guys, we're just going to jump straight into things. If you haven't been living under a rock, you obviously know what's going on with Israel and Hamas. And Ben Shapiro has taken to his platforms to let people know his thoughts and his feelings. And he's a little upset that some of his peers don't exactly see eye to eye with him. One of those peers is Tucker Carlson, and the other is, well, I guess you could call him a peers, Andrew Tate. So I'm just going to let Ben speak.
Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm going to let you finish.
And then when we come back, I'll share some of the tweets between him and Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, and I'll give him my 2 cents as well. All right, let's roll.
And Tucker, by the way, then continued along these lines. He did an interview with Vivek Ramaswamy, and he likened what just happened in Israel, the kidnapping of women and their rape. I mean, he's showing video of this happening, like as he's talking about this. He compared that to drug overdose deaths in the United States. Now, I believe we should fully care about the 100,000 drug overdose deaths that happen in the United States. These are two completely different issues. To go this far afield to link the issues, the only reason you're doing this is because you wish to downplay the atrocity that just happened in Israel. You're not upplaying the atrocity of what's happening on America's streets. Those are two different types of atrocities. People who are addicted to fentanyl, sticking needles in their arms and overdosing is a moral blight. It is a moral atrocity and a moral evil for people to kidnap women, rape them, and drag them back to the Gaza border. Those are not the same thing. And Tucker knows that. But this is a cheap way of telling you not to look. Don't look. Stop caring. Because after all, what does it matter? What does it matter? Now, again, I don't know who thinks that that's a sophisticated point of view, especially when nobody is calling for America to go to war with Iran. The entire purpose of having an aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean is to avoid that. But here is Tucker playing. I don't even know the game he's playing. This is just a dumb game.
But you don't have to look far in the United States for moral outrages also on video. And there's not a city in this country, not just the big cities, but cities of 10,000 people. I was in one yesterday that doesn't have some constellation of drug-addicted young people living outside. We call them the homeless. They're drug addicts. And they're addicted to drugs that were imported across an open border.
What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? I don't understand.
More than 100,000 a year. Now, you could call it genocide. You can call it whatever you want, but it's the death of over 100,000 Americans a year and the living death of millions more.
Well, you can't call it genocide. It's not genocide.
So sure. I don't understand.
I'm sorry, people who are addicted to drugs and living outside
in Israel. And again, I want to add my voice to that because I'm a human being. But
oh, sure you do.
You
sound very outraged.
The outrage among Republican presidential candidates was so much more intense. One of them took to a bullhorn and started yelling about it. I get it, but no one would think to do that about the 100,000 American young people murdered every year. And
because who are you yelling at? Who are you yelling at? First of all, people are on bullhorns yelling about drug overdoses and the open border all the time. All the time. What is he even talking about? What he's attempting to do is minimize what happened in Israel. He's not attempting to maximize what happened in the United States. He's attempting to minimize, as though America can't walk and chew gum, morally speaking, at the same time, which is absurd. And those two things are nothing alike. I'm sorry, that is not alike. It is not alike for drug smugglers to smuggle drugs over the border, which someone then takes and shoves into their arm and then they die of an overdose. That is not the same thing. I promise you, it is not the same thing as a terrorist breaking into your home and murdering your children in their beds in front of you and dragging your wife off to be raped in Gaza. That is not the same thing. Pretending that it is immoral. It's a moral blight. It's idiocy. It's just moral stupidity at the highest level. Of course we should care about what happens with fentanyl. Of course we should care about, we should close our border. Have I been unclear about this? Of course America should have closed borders when it comes to this sort of stuff. I'm on the same side as Tucker on that. I just don't understand why he's not on my side when it comes to Hamas has to be wiped off the face of the earth. What exactly is the counter argument? In any case, this sort of moral sophistication is predicated on only one of a few possible hypotheses. The most dark and terrible is the possibility that people just don't give a damn when Jews get killed by terrorists. I'm not accusing Tucker of that. I'm not accusing Whitlock of that. In fact, I'm not even accusing the AOCs of the world of that. Although I think she's closer to the border, considering the only tweet she has sent in this entire ridiculous situation is a tweet finding one Jew in New York saying a bad thing that the Israeli government does not even carry forth. That's the only thing she's seen fit to tweet about this. I'm not accusing all these people of that. What I am accusing them of is a moral blindness that must be caused by a complete flattening of the cultural landscape, in which everybody thinks the same way that we do, and that every problem can be solved in the same way, and that it is of no consequence whether evil walks the earth, because all problems are basically, that's what realism truly is. Well, that's not realistic. That's stupid. Those are not the same thing. Again, when it comes to policy questions about what should be done in the Middle East, that is a question of prudence. It's a question of pragmatism. It's a question of American interests, which again are not always identical with Israeli interests. When it comes to comparing the Holocaust level evil we just saw in Kfar Aza with people overdosing on the streets of Philadelphia, I have some moral questions. I do.
All right, so now that you've seen that, here's my opinion. I feel like Ben Shapiro is probably a little too close to the issue. Obviously, this hits home for him. He is Jewish, right? And so I think he is responding through emotion. He's not listening to what Tucker's saying, and he also didn't show the full clip of what Tucker was saying. And if he was really listening, he would have caught on to the fact that Tucker wasn't downplaying anything. He was just saying that there's a lot that's going on in America right now. Is this really in the best interest of America for us to go to war? And he's trying to say, well, no one's saying that we're talking about going to war, but I'm pretty sure that all of the people that Tucker's talking about, all these candidates are talking about war. That would be Pence. That would be Nikki Haley. That would be Lindsey Graham. All of these people are coming out and saying things like, we need to level them. We need to finish them. That's war talk, okay? And so what Tucker is saying essentially is like, hey, let's take a moment to actually look at what's going on and understand the facts before we just jump to war. Also, war means death, and we don't want death at all. On either side. We don't want death. We want peace. And that is exactly what he's talking about. The other thing, too, is where he's talking about drugs and he's comparing, the war on drugs against what's going on in Israel. All he's saying is that you don't see the outrage from these same candidates about what's going on with the drug epidemic. There are 100,000 people, I think he said, dying every year from drug overdose. And so, I mean, where's the outcry for that? I think that's what Tucker's saying. That's all he was saying. He's not trying to downplay what's going on in Israel. Obviously, raping women and, the murder of children and all that's taking place over there it's absolutely awful, okay? But I think he's just making a fair statement and a fair assessment that we just need to evaluate what's going on at home first. I mean, people like Kylie Jenner can't even post that she's standing with Israel because people are coming at her. People want people to pick one side or the other. And if you stand in the middle, oh no, off with your head. Cancel that person. So I just think it's a bit absurd. It's quite obvious that we have a lot of cleanup to do at home first. I mean, look at us. We have no doors, we have no floors, we have no ceiling, and then we want to open the purse and use the credit card and just expense someone else's war. I think we need to take a look at some things. Now, as I told you, Tucker wasn't Ben's only target. It was also Andrew Tate. And so, well, Tate may have asked for it a little bit, but this is how it began. Ben Shapiro posted this in response to this tweet where it says, "We are horrified by what is happening and we call for a truce." And Ben responds saying, "And they can F right off." So, of course, with Andrew being someone who is Muslim, he responded by saying, "Mr. Tough Guy, let me assure you, as someone who does his own fighting, as opposed to excitedly encouraging others to do it for him while sitting at home on a comfy chair, peace is always worth a conversation." Now, yeah, he may have come for him a little bit, boosted his ego a little bit, but he's saying peace is still a good idea. And I think we can all rock with that, right? Peace is still a good idea. But of course, his brother Tristan Tate also had to have his back, adding his 2 cents as well, saying this: "Yeah, I'm sure only men who fight for Hamas die in these airstrikes you're praising. The footage from the ground says otherwise. Either you change your tune in 22 hours or you literally forget what you post." And well, while it might have started as 2, it quickly turned into a tag team because Jeremy Boring also had to add his 2 cents by saying, "Being a professional fighter in no way compares to fighting for your life in war, you poser piece of shit. You played a sport. Good for you. Stop insinuating yourself into the company of those better than either of us who fought in real battles, and try having that conversation about peace with the woman raping, child murdering Hamas terrorists who started this." So now it's starting to get a little heated, man. I mean, I don't know. So it continues. Ben Shapiro responds to Andrew Tate's original tweet by saying this: "Let me assure you, as someone who has not pimped women and bragged about it, that morality requires that those who rape women and kidnap children must be eradicated, not negotiated with." And so Tristan Tate had to tag back in, and this is what he had to say. A Jewish man speaking of the eradication of a race of people. 2023 is a scary time to be alive. I wonder how many of the women and kids who are soon to be obliterated, kidnapped, or raped anybody. My guess is 0. This is nihilistic and evil. And of course, Ben Shapiro had to follow that up by saying, I call for those who rape women and kidnap children to be eradicated. So not only are you immoral, you're apparently illiterate. And so I think this may have been where it stopped, but goodness gracious, it just feels like Ben is mad and he's emotional. And that's the very thing that Americans don't need to be right now. I get that he is, and he has every right to be. He's true to his faith. He's true to his heritage. But us as Americans, like, we can't be emotional right now. Look at what happened with the pandemic and what they told us. Emotion is what caused people to do things that maybe they regret doing now. And so the point here is, don't be emotional. Think about the pandemic. Think about 9/11. Think about the things that they told you and the things that came out after. All I'm saying is take a moment to reflect on the information that we've been given and then make a true evaluated assessment from there. That's all I got for you guys today. If you like this video or the content that I'm bringing to you, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.